degree isn't worth what it used to be. Not because the education was bad, not because you chose the wrong major, but because the job market you were preparing for doesn't exist anymore. At least not in the form anyone told you about. I know that sounds dramatic, but let me show you what I mean. A computer science graduate from MIT applied to 230 jobs last year. She got 12 interviews, 3 offers. All 3 paid less than what the same position offered 5 years ago. She has the degree everyone said was safe. She did everything right. And she's competing against AI that writes code faster than she can. This isn't a story about one person having bad luck. This is about what happens when the entire market shifts and nobody updates the map. You're still being told to get a degree, to specialize, to become an expert in one thing. That advice made sense for 40 years. It doesn't make sense anymore. The world you were promised worked like this. You go to school. You learn a specific skill. You get hired because you have that skill. You do that job for decades. Simple, linear, predictable. But that model assumed something. It assumed your skill would stay valuable. It assumed companies would need humans to do that work. It assumed the knowledge you gained in 4 years would last 20. None of those assumptions are true now. Here's what actually happens today. You spend 4 years learning software engineering. By the time you graduate, AI can already do the junior-level work you were going to start with. The entry position that was supposed to teach you the basics doesn't exist. So you're competing for mid-level roles against people who have 5 years of experience. You have a degree, they have a portfolio. Guess who gets hired? Or you study law, you pass the bar. You expect to spend a few years doing document review and legal research, learning the profession, but firms have already automated that work. They don't need 20 junior associates anymore. They need 3 people who can supervise the AI, and those 3 positions go to people who already have experience. You're stuck outside a door that's supposed to be open. This is the trap. The degree was supposed to get you in. But the entry point moved, it moved up. And now you need experience to get the job that gives you experience. It's not your fault, but it is your problem, so what do? That's the question, right? If the traditional path doesn't work, what does? I'm going to tell you about 3 things that actually matter now. Not because they sound good, but because they're what's working for the people who are still getting hired. These aren't skills in the traditional sense. You can't major in them, there's no certification, but they're what separates the people who find work from the people who don't. The first one is integration, not specialization, integration. Let me explain what that means. For decades, the career advice was simple. Pick one thing, get really good at it, become the expert. That's how you become valuable, that's how you become irreplaceable. Except now. You're not competing with other specialists. You're competing with AI that specializes better than you. The AI can write code faster than a developer. It can analyze legal documents faster than a lawyer. It can create marketing copy faster than a copywriter. If your value is doing one thing extremely well, you're in trouble. But here's what the AI can't do yet. It can't connect things across domains. It can't take a technical problem and understand the business implications. It can't look at a marketing challenge and solve it with code. It can't read a legal contract and redesign the product to avoid the liability. Those connections still require a human, because they require context the AI doesn't have. So integration means this. You don't just learn one thing deeply, you learn 2 or 3 things adequately, and you learn how they connect. You're not just a developer, you're a developer who understands user psychology. You're not just a designer, you're a designer who can analyze data. You're not just a writer, you're a writer who understands how systems work. The value isn't in the individual skills. It's in the combination. It's in seeing the problem nobody else sees, because you're standing at the intersection. Here's a real example. A friend of mine studied graphic design. Graduated 3 years ago, couldn't find work. Every design job wanted 5 years of experience, or paid barely anything because AI tools made basic design accessible to everyone. So she spent 6 months learning basic Python, not to become a developer, just enough to automate repetitive tasks. Now she works for a marketing agency. Her job isn't designing, it's building automated design systems. She creates templates and workflows that let the AI generate hundreds of variations. But with brand consistency, a pure AI solution can't match. She's not competing with AI, she's integrating with it. That's the difference. The second skill is translation, and this is going to be huge in the next 5 years. Most people don't understand how AI actually works. They know it exists. They've used ChatGPT, but they don't know what it can do. What it can't do, or how to use it effectively. This creates a gap on one side. You have technical people who understand AI but don't understand business problems on the other side. You have business people who understand problems but don't understand AI. Neither side can talk to the other. That gap is where the jobs are. Translation means you can speak both languages. You understand enough about AI to know what's possible. And you understand enough about the real world to know what's actually useful. You're the person who can sit in a meeting, listen to a business problem, and say we could automate that, then explain how, then actually make it happen, or the person who can look at what the technical team built and explain why it won't work for the actual users. This isn't coding, this isn't management. It's the space between them, and right now, almost nobody does this well. Companies are hiring AI specialists who can't explain what they're building, or hiring managers who don't understand what they bought. The person who can bridge that gap becomes essential, not because they're the best coder, not because they're the best strategist, but because they're the only one who can make both sides work together. Here's why this matters for you. You don't need a computer science degree to do this. You need curiosity. You need to spend time actually using AI tools, not just once. Regularly, you need to understand what prompts work and what prompts fail. You need to see where the AI is confident and where it hallucinates. You need to know which tasks it can handle and which ones still need a human. That knowledge, right now, is more valuable than most degrees. Because hardly anyone has it. The third skill is judgment in chaos. This is the hardest one to describe, but it might be the most important. Here's the thing about AI, it's very good when the rules are clear, when there's a right answer. When the pattern is consistent, but the world isn't like that most of the time. Most real problems have conflicting information, unclear goals, hidden constraints, no obvious right answer. That's where humans still have an edge. Not because we're smarter, but because we're better at operating in ambiguity. Judgment in chaos means this. You can make a decision when the data is incomplete. You can read a room and know what's actually happening beneath what people are saying. You can look at a situation and see what matters, versus what's just noise. You can operate without perfect instructions. The AI needs clarity to function. You don't, that's your advantage. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. A startup I know hired a consultant last year, not because they needed strategy advice. They had plenty of data, they had AI tools analyzing everything. They had dashboards and projections and models, but nobody could decide what to do because the data pointed in 4 different directions. The consultant they hired didn't bring better analysis. She brought the ability to make a call when there was no clear answer, to say we're doing this because these factors matter more than those ones, even though we can't prove it. That's judgment. The AI can give you probabilities. It can't tell you what to do when all the options are uncertain. And here's what's interesting. This skill doesn't come from school, it comes from experience, but not just any experience. It comes from being in situations where you had to figure things out, with no guide, where you had to make something work, with limited resources, where you had to deal with people who disagreed, and find a path forward anyway. Those situations, that's where you develop this, so if you're still in school, or just starting your career, this is what you should be looking for, not the job with the best title, not the job that pays the most right away. The job that puts you in uncomfortable situations. The job where things are messy, where you have to solve problems nobody taught you how to solve. That's where you build the skill the AI can't replicate. Now here's the hard part. None of this is what you were told to do. You were told to specialize, to get credentials, to follow the path. And now I'm telling you the path doesn't work anymore. That's disorienting. I understand that. But here's what you need to understand. The people who succeed in the next 10 years won't be the ones with the best degrees. They'll be the ones who adapted fastest, who saw what was actually happening, not what they were told was happening. Who built the skills that matter, not the skills that used to matter. And yes, this is harder than the old model. The old model was clear, do these steps, get this result. Simple, the new model requires you to figure it out yourself. To experiment, to fail sometimes, to build a combination of skills that make sense for you, not for everyone. That's more difficult, but it's also more honest, because the old model, the one that promised a degree would guarantee a career, that was never as safe as it seemed. It just felt safe, because everyone was following the same path. Now the path is gone, and you have to navigate without it. So what does that actually mean day to day? It means you spend time learning things that aren't in your major. It means you use AI tools every week, not to cheat, but to understand how they work. It means you take projects where you don't know the answer yet. It means you talk to people outside your field. It means you build things even if they're small. It means you learn to explain complex ideas to people who aren't experts. It means you practice making decisions when you don't have enough information. These things don't show up on a transcript, but they're what actually makes you employable now. I'm not going to tell you this is easy. It's not. You're being asked to navigate a job market that's changing faster than anyone can track. You're competing with technology that's improving every month. You're trying to build a career in a world where the rules keep shifting. That's genuinely difficult, but here's the other side of it. The people who figure this out will have opportunities the previous generation never had because the old gatekeepers are gone. You don't need to impress the hiring manager at a big company anymore. You can build something yourself. You can solve problems directly. You can create value in ways that didn't exist 5 years ago. The instability cuts both ways. It's threatening the old paths, but it's opening new ones. The question is whether you're willing to walk through the uncertainty, to build skills that don't have a clear ROI, to try things that might not work, to stop waiting for permission and just start. That MIT graduate I mentioned at the beginning, the one who applied to 230 jobs, she eventually stopped applying. She spent 3 months building an AI tool that helps small businesses automate customer support. She launched it 6 weeks ago. It's making $12,000 a month, not because she had the best degree, but because she stopped trying to fit into the old system and built something for the new one. Your degree isn't worth what it used to be, that's true, but you are worth more than your degree, you always were. The market is just finally forcing everyone to prove it.